And it's important that you actually think about it and seek out information that allows you to go down those paths. Um, like one thing I talked about before with career is that the people who are pursuing, you know, pro sports or pro music and stuff that's deemed as not necessarily viable, that's risky, that it's very difficult to get to. Like I've talked about how there are other opportunities out there in those things that you don't have to necessarily reach the top level. You know, you don't have to play at the highest level in those sports because there are other leagues out there that could still pay a viable wage for you to live on and sustain yourself and potentially even support your family with, right? There are opportunities in coaching, in training, in stuff nowadays with video analysts, right? And there are just even more opportunities out there in different levels and stuff that's related to the main thing you're working on. And while you're doing all of that, there are people who are getting business degrees, so you could use that and then go into something else. They could start academies, right? There's just so many different things that you could end up doing. You could become a manager for actual top athletes. You could become a analyst, even just on YouTube. People have succeeded with that. You could obviously work for the local radio, newspaper, or TV station. There are all these things out there. Similar with music, right? Being a studio musician might not be as glorious. You don't really go on tours and all that, but it's a very stable gig and you get to play music all the time and you get to be featured on these, you could potentially be featured on some of the top songs, some of the greatest artists out there at the time. Like that, those are plausible things, or at least work with local musicians. The same thing with teaching, same thing with, go into something like conducting if you're into those type of music, right? There's a composer, there's writing, there are just so many different opportunities out there. You don't have to become a global pop star to make it, right? Like there are just so many other opportunities out there within these things, whether that is not getting to the top level or it's shifting slightly but still maintaining the same, still staying within the same field. Like when it comes to career, there are many different paths, and even in the ones that seem more risky and all of those things that make people feel like it's doubtful and questioning you for what you want to do, like it's not as risky, it's not as bad if you understand all the other options out there along the path, right? And when you're looking at your timeline in life, some of those paths could make sense for you. So it's something very important to think about, and something that gives a lot of people more freedom with how they want to live their life and choosing or figuring out, understanding that they could have their own timeline in life. A timeline that everyone's timeline in life is different, or at least could be different, right? So I did want to bring that up again when we're talking about careers, because that's a huge part of life overall, and it's a huge aspect of how people see their own timelines in life.